Hey everybody, it's your old pal, SimplySuperDave, coming at you with another episode of Staying Super with SimplySuperDave, and it is Thirsty Thursday. I'm pretty sure it is the last one of March. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the long month. As we come to a close of it, it's been a very long month indeed. April Fool's Day is coming up this Saturday, and today is opening day of the timed classic baseball season has begun today. Yes, it has. Can't wait to get inside and actually catch some highlights, maybe a live game on TV right now. That would be pretty nice. That is All-American, baby. So many things going on in the world today that we could talk about, but we've already touched up on the podcast. And like I said, I don't want to be too repetitive. So you know me, I like to try to change up topics, even though maybe a lot of it does center and hover around one another. And I always like to find the connection or the way that it all works together. Because life is one big web, all right? We all live in it. And when something happens, there's a ripple effect, and we all feel it. One of the things that happened over the past week, and one of the things that has diverted our attention from a lot of things that are happening in the world, is a tragedy that we have become too accustomed to and too tired of hearing about. And that, of course, is the Tennessee mass shooting, of course. We got to address this topic because firearms are a big issue and it needs to be talked about and addressed. I am a big Second Amendment believer. So this issue is pretty hard to talk about because I will sound pretty contradictory at point in times. But like I promised you in the podcast, when you talk openly about something instead of just what you think in your head, you catch yourself maybe saying something you may not agree with, and you may want to retract, or you may not feel strong enough about, and you may want to further on into it. And that's what I'm going to keep trying to do here, is be honest with you guys about how I feel about a lot of things going on in the world today, because I am as low at the bottom as there can possibly be. So my perspective is always going to be a bunch of everything. Because when you're at the bottom, that's what you see, is everything above you. But when you're at the top, you don't pay any attention below, because you can only see the reflection of the sky when you look at the top of the water, but you can't see what's underneath. But when you're at the bottom, you can see the top, and you can see everything in between. It depends on what kind of murky waters you're in as well. Here in Louisiana, if you get into the waters and you go underneath, you ain't seeing shit, okay? It is red dirt clay water, okay? There is a filtering system unknowns to man. No, I'm just joking, but seriously, murky, muddy waters here in the deep south of Louisiana. Deep south of Louisiana. I don't live in the south of Louisiana. Now, there is some crazy Cajuns running around down there, and I got a lot of mad respect for those guys running around in swamp boats all the time, talking a way that I can't even pronounce. But a lot of French orientation has a lot to do with Louisiana. One of the things that you may not know about Louisiana is that we do not have counties. No, we do not have counties at all. We have parishes. And we're the only state that has parishes instead of counties. So whenever you address with anything in Louisiana, you will always have something French to do with it. For instance, there is a lot of towns and parishes in the state that be pronounced one way, but if you pronounced it correctly, you would blow a lot of people's minds. But anyway, that is the cool history of this great country of ours, and how the influence of the French in the Louisiana Purchase. I mean, Louisiana used to go all the way up through Canada, and or up to Canada, actually, and was a huge part of American history, and got chopped off at the bottom and became just the boot instead of the leg. And we've been the boot and the heel of the country ever since. Right next to the great old state, Mississippi, and the big old state of Texas. Really interesting lifestyle right here. Really surrounded football-wise. I am a sports fan. I am surrounded by Saints and Cowboy fans, and that is very discouraging at times, considering I am I hate to say it because I know I'll get a lot of flack for it, but a Detroit Lions fan. And that's just because I fell in love with the one and only great Barry Sanders, coming out of Oklahoma State University as a Heisman Trophy winner. And Detroit picked him up, and I just fell in love with the team. And that's who I've been rolling with ever since 1989. And that's when I was like junior high, going into high school, and just got into football, playing football. And, those junior high years, gotta love them. Anyway, that's how old the Simply Super Dave is. So if that gives you a mind frame of how long I've been around and why, I think my podcast tried to really reach out and touch people on a low level, because I think a lot of us are on a low level right now, especially with inflation really tightening things up to the point where we look around and have to really think and decide what really matters these days. And the Tennessee mass shooting is another example of people in a transition from a physical industrial age to a mental virtual age. And I think a lot of the frustrations come about from the fact of why these people do what they do. First off, when I say these people, let's clarify who we're talking about right now. Because a lot of people like to hear that phrase and like to acclaim it to whatever they want to assign it to. I'm assigning it to crazy people because we don't have those anymore, but they do exist. Okay? And these are people that make decisions that aren't rational and carry them out and do harm to other people. That is if we just need to make a flat out crazy category, those people would be in it. All right. And I'm talking about the guy in Las Vegas. I mean, wow. Does anybody remember that night on TV? Wow. I mean, what a crazy run of events that ensued. Remember that night. And if you had social media or Twitter or anything like that, it's just, you could, so many angles, so many videos, and it's become desensitized in a lot of us, where we just hear it and it's another mass shooting, blah, 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 blah. Average day America, right? Because of the Second Amendment. Look, the reason why I really endorse, let's get back to the categorization thing. I don't want to blow away from that one. A lot of news media is pointing out this person is trans. That really has nothing to do with it. Every one of these motherfuckers, and I say that with much hatred, no respect there. These are motherfuckers that decide that their problems are bigger than everybody else's, and they're going to hurt others to make their point known, as if something's going to be done about it. Now, the gun part, that's the part that everybody's politically fighting over. It's just the gun part. The gun, like I've always said before, it can be used as a weapon or a tool. When you're in defense of your life and they're barging down the door for whatever reason, whoever they are, whether we're being invaded by another country or you just find yourself in a situation where you're wrongly accused and they're coming after you, whatever it is, the crooks are breaking in. You're out in the middle of the woods. They're going to come get you, and they're going to go make you squeal like a pig. Yeah, there's a time where a gun is very important to have in your life. I think I can make my point very clear there. Okay? And thankfully in America you can have something like that. It can easily resolve the situation. I don't know about you, but if you've ever heard a shotgun reloaded nearby within any range of you, it is a very distinctive feeling. Anytime you hear a gun cock, it's a moment where you realize things just got real. Like maybe you have outstepped your element maybe one step too far. Another example of this, and what I like to point out, is we need to have guns, because in history has ever proven there is going to be a time and a place where I don't think it's going to be possible. So it's hard for me to make this call here, okay, folks? Because let's be realistic. Do you think the average person in this country would unite together in arms to fight against our own government? Who would probably control the military? Probably not. So it's hard for me to make the argument that's what we should have weapons for. Because I don't think that we're capable of actually pulling that off. I think that a small portion of the country could, but they're so broken up and apart, it wouldn't take any time whatsoever. I mean, what I'm saying? If the military did carry out the orders against American citizens, essentially, but they would be considered by law through the justice system traitors or whatever, when they could be patriots, because the government will mark them as martyrs or whatever, and conspirators and traitors and what so forth, but really they're being patriots. That's the tricky part about the media, because the media is controlled, of course, by the government, because the government regulates everything that you see and watch and do. So, blah, blah, blah. That's why stuff like TikTok and the internet is such a big deal to the government, and why they want to put this restrict bill out. Because they don't want you to get all the information without going through their filter of media. And TikTok and a lot of other platforms, not just TikTok. TikTok just is the biggest. It's the easiest. There's no words to type. Everything is media. It's visual. If you want to read the scroll, moments happening, things blowing up, people attacking one another, unity happening, people speaking up against corruption in our own government. I love watching these videos. It's amazing. Very newsworthy things I learn. I learned today that in 1932, 10,000 veterans invaded and encamped in Washington, D.C. Senate, when they closed out their session and didn't resolve what the veterans demanded, which was a certificate they were given, and they were promised money, but they haven't been given it yet, and it was in a bad time. Depression was kicking in I think at this point. It was right after World War I. And there's 10,000 veterans, built a camp in Washington, D.C., took it over. Senate had to escape through tunnels to get out safely, leaving the president to deal with it. And it was Hoover. I believe it was Hoover, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to say. A lot of names are mentioned in this, but it's very tragic how it played out, because the military was called in to evacuate the veterans, and the military did come in, and they did take care of business. That's all I'm going to say. They used tear gas, and they got them all out, and from there, it just shows you, even today, the veteran system out there that is for the people that have sacrificed their God-given right and, choice to life, the American way, to protect the American way, is still disrespected to me by our government. When it is the very thing that protects and gives us the very right to do exactly what I'm doing right now, which is expressing yourself and saying what you have felt and see in front of you, things you would like to see changed out there, you know. And that's the beauty and why I love technology today, because it can be a tool and not a weapon. But this mass shooter, it doesn't matter what their gender is. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I understand that has something to do with why they were having revenge against being discriminated against in early in life, but their solution was just as crazy as a straight person's solution to his wife cheating on him and deciding to go to the work and shoot up everybody at the post office. Nothing's different about these situations. It still comes down to a mentality problem. And in a generation that's not so physical and more mental, in a virtual reality embraced society, I think that we need to start looking at maybe focusing on the psychological issues of the average day person. Doing serious background checks for weapons. And yes, because I don't think that we could rise up together, I have no problem with an assault gun ban. Because let's face it, if they have a hard time shooting the weapon or can only get off minimum shots, like they have to pull the trigger for each one to go off, less people would die probably, considering pulling the trigger and several shots coming out. I mean, it's my tactic in Fortnite is to find the weapon that puts out the most bullets at the widest range and the shortest. I can't deal with this aim and hit it. No, I need to spread and pray. And that's how I play the game. So check me out when I stream on Twitch. SimplySuperDave there, of course. Follow me also on Twitter, SimplySuperDave, of course. And drop me some topics, and we'll hit them here on the podcast. But yeah, that's the solution for me is we need to be a little bit more deeper on our background checks. Psychological tests even. Maybe start working on the therapy of America. Because apparently the problem isn't with the gun. It's why people turn to it. And yes, the problem is with the gun, if it's easy for a child to shoot and kill 10 people at one time, then I don't need a stupid grown-up with bad intentions being able to do the same. There is limitations. I think that we need to have more conversation to figure out that compromise, because obviously something needs to be done. But taking away guns completely, and maybe even not, I'm sorry, but I do see a reason why to keep assault rifles. I'm sorry. I think it's about accessibility. I think that it needs to be more responsible. And to truly understand it, we're going to have to really talk to people and be more honest. And I don't know. That's why I think there's a psychological issue there. I think there's a lot of therapy that needs to be done. I think people need to be open more. I think people need to speak up more. Maybe if these people talked a little bit or felt more safe to be able to talk about their problems and not feel like they're going to get attacked or canceled or bullied online as well, then maybe they could have been avoided these situations. But then there are just crazy fucking people. Some people just go too far. Like I said, anything that you love to do is great, but never too much of it. Too much of anything is a bad thing. Anything. I don't care what it is. Too much of it is bad. Yes, even money. I know a lot of people go there, but yes, even money. All right, folks, I hope you really pay attention to the news out there, and thoughts and prayers to the family, condolences to anyone that lost their lives over this mass shooting or any mass shooting, where just innocent lives caught up in someone else's drama, someone else's negative energy. Remember, folks, love and laughter conquer hate and fear out there. It's the only way to defeat anything negative is with something positive. So go be a conqueror, don't be a victim. God bless.